Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Red True Crime. I'd like to give a warning. This video discusses child harm and severe mental illness. Viewer discretion is advised. Technical difficulties with StreamYard tonight. All right. So let's get to this. So, welcome back to Retro Crime. I'm Rebecca, and today we are going to be talking about one of the most heartbreaking and controversial cases in American true crime history, and it's the Andrea Yates case. So, let me put her picture up here real quick. There we go. So, on June 20th, 2001, a devoted mother drowned her 5 young children in the family bathtub. Yeah. So, think about that for just a moment. Just think about that. What followed was a media frenzy, 2 high-profile trials, and a landmark debate about postpartum psychosis, religious extremism, and the insanity defense. This particular case really brought about the discussion of postpartum depression and the extremes of it, because that is just one of those things that's just taboo. Nobody ever talked about things that went on with women, depression and anxiety when it came to childbirth and motherhood and everything else. So, but this case really brought that to the forefront of that discussion where it should be discussed. So now we're in 25 years later in 2026, and with a new investigation discovery docuseries revising or revisiting the story, including fresh interviews with her ex-husband, Rusty Yates. That guy. The questions still haunt us. Was this preventable? And was justice served? And at the end of this, I'll give you my opinion. Or actually might hear it throughout. So we're going to stick around as we walk through the full timeline, the heartbreaking details, the trials, and where Andrea is today. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. We cover deep, respectful true crime stories every week. So we're going to begin. So Andrea Pia Kennedy was born in 1964 in Houston, Texas. She was brilliant, valedictorian of her high school, swim team captain, and later a registered nurse at MD Anderson Cancer Center. She seemed to have it all. But in 1993, she married Russell Rusty Yates, a NASA engineer. The couple was deeply religious and following evangelical Christian beliefs, including the Quiverful movement, welcoming as many children as God would give. And this is the family before it all went bad. There you go. So these smiling faces: Noah is 7, John 5, Paul 3, Luke 2, and baby Mary 6 months old. And that is these kids right here. So these children were the center of her life, of her world. And but that was beneath the surface. There was severe mental illness and it was building. So Andrea suffered from severe postpartum depression and psychosis after each birth. But it escalated dramatically after her fourth child, Luke. This little guy right here. This little guy. So in 1999, she attempted suicide twice that year, once by overdose and once by cutting her throat. She was hospitalized multiple times, prescribed antipsychotics like Haldol, and doctors explicitly warned Rusty no more children. The risk of recurrence was way too high. Yet they conceived a fifth child, Mary, born in November of 2000. Andrea's condition worsened, hallucinations, delusions that Satan was inside her, paranoia about cameras watching her, and the terrifying belief that she was evil and would damn her children to hell unless she saved them. Saved in quotes. So in March of 2001, her father died, triggering another breakdown. She was hospitalized again, but released without full stabilization. So on the morning of June 20th, Rusty left for work. Andrea fed the children breakfast, then filled the bathtub. She drowned them one by one, starting with the youngest boys, then baby Mary, and finally struggling with 7-year-old Noah, who fought back. She laid the bodies on the bed, called 911, and waited. When police arrived, she confessed calmly, "I just killed my children." She believed she was saving their souls from eternal damnation. So that look right there on her face really captures a haunted look. And in my opinion, someone lost in psychosis. So in the beginning, Andrea was charged with capital murder. Prosecutors sought the death penalty. Her defense pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity under the Texas's strict McNaughton rule. Did she know right from wrong? Experts testified to her severe postpartum psychosis and schizophrenia-like symptoms. But a key prosecution witness, Dr. Park Dietz, claimed she might have been influenced by a Law and Order episode, later proven false. The jury convicted her on March 12, 2002, but spared her the death penalty. Life with parole after 40 years. In 2005, the conviction was overturned because of Dietz's false testimony. A retrial began in 2006. New experts emphasized her delusions. She believed the world was too evil and her children were doomed. The jury saw the truth of her psychosis. So on July 26, 2006, Andrea was found not guilty by reason of insanity. And she was committed to a psychiatric care indefinitely. So after the trial, Andrea was first sent to North Texas State Hospital, and then she was transferred in 2007 to Kerrville State Hospital in Kerrville, Texas, a much lower security facility. Now she is 61 and she remains there. She weighs her annual competency hearing every year, choosing to stay institutionalized. Her attorney, George Parnham, says she's remarkably well under treatment, making crafts like aprons and cards, selling them anonymously, but grieving her children every single day. Now, good old Rusty, gotta love him. Divorced her in 2005, remarried later, divorced, and has spoken recently in the 2026 docuseries The Cult Behind the Killer. He says he doesn't blame Andrea. She's not a monster. She suffered immensely. He still visits and talks to her monthly. Not just a peach. But the case sparked massive conversation. Recognition of postpartum psychosis, not just baby blues. Failures in mental health care and warnings ignored. Influence of religious extremism and ties to preacher Michael Warnecki's explored in the new doc. And the insanity defense, why Texas's standard is so narrow. Now, many argue the system failed Andrea and her children. Rusty has said poor medical care and insurance issues played a role. I don't believe that. So, here are my thoughts. I remember when this case first happened in 2000, and I think it was two. I was pregnant with my second kid, and it was frightening. It was absolutely frightening. Um, I was a single parent with my first child, and I was scared to raise a child of my own. I was 23. I didn't really know anything about raising children, and I did get a little depressed because who wouldn't, when you don't know what the future is gonna bring? But never in a million years did I ever think I could harm my kid or that they would be better off dead. I never in a million years would I ever think that. Now, what bothers me is that when you go to the facts of this case, you see, multiple things were coming out. Doctors had been warning Rusty previous before the 4th child was born, like, I think after the 2nd child was born, that they probably shouldn't have any more kids, that this is too much for her. She can't, mental issues were coming about, and her mother was even staying with her, um, helping her with the kids, just trying to give her a break, and her husband sent the mother away because he didn't want his wife to be too dependent on help. And I will say this, that man is by far the most obtuse, inconsiderate asshole on the planet, and why he was never ever charged or found culpable with what happened with his own children with her, just pure negligence in my mind. I'll never understand why that didn't happen. But this woman chooses to stay in the mental facility because she feels she doesn't deserve to be around normal people. She murdered her children and she lives with that. She grieves them constantly. And now that she's medicated, she probably has more clear insight as to what she actually did. And that hits her even more now instead of being in a mental fugue, you know? But he did not want her to have help. He ignored doctors' recommendations and had more children. He was like, well, what's the likelihood of her going back into this? And the doctor said 50-50. He was like, "Oh, well, I guess it's like getting the flu. It's 50-50 shot. You're gonna get the flu." Ugh, no offense, men out there, but you guys don't really get it. There's another case. I want to say it's in Massachusetts where a woman had postpartum psychosis and killed her 3 kids and then threw herself off a balcony. She lived. She's paralyzed from the neck down, and she's being charged with murder. Um, but that was another case, and this was more recent with our standards of care now. She was a labor and delivery nurse, and she was having issues even after the first child. Went to doctors, got on medication, went to treatment. None of it was helping. They just kept double overloading her with meds and not giving her real treatment, not putting her. She tried to institutionalize herself. They would let her go after 3 days. Now there's 3 kids dead. Who's to blame there? The husband did what he could. In that case, I really believe he did. But the doctors just blow you off, and it's like, who this blood is on their hands, in my opinion. So, Rusty Yates, in my opinion, is completely culpable when it comes to the death of his first 5 children. Completely culpable. Had he had a brain, had he recognized she needed help, had he took his head out of his ass and not leave it up to God, his kids would probably still be alive. So, 25 years on, the Andrea Yates case remains a tragic reminder of severe mental illness can strike anyone, even the most of loving parents. And it's not about excusing horror, it's about understanding, preventing, and treating. And the new 2026 docuseries raises fresh questions about cult like influences and accountability. What do you think? Do you think the justice system got it right the second time? Um, but leave me your thoughts. Give me your opinions. Do you think her husband is somewhat responsible for what happened to those kids by ignoring her needs, what she needed, her desires, to hurt people and whatnot? Do you think he was wrong for sending her mother away and not, you know, um, you know, sending her mother away by taking away any support, because he obviously didn't show her any. So, I don't know. The whole thing just upsets me. But you give me your comments. Let me know what you think. And you know, as I always say, just open your eyes and see. Because mental illness is just something you just cannot ignore. And if you see somebody struggling, help them, 'cause I've seen too many people just destroyed by it. And it's upsetting. It really is. Anyway, this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. And hope everybody has a great night. And as I always say, be weird, be rude, be safe. And just look out for each other. Good night, everyone.